What's up, everybody? Michael Walsh here. So I've been thinking about Tom Aspinall because on the one hand, things have been looking really good for Tom at the moment because John Jones has retired and finally gotten out of his way. Tom can start fighting regularly again. He doesn't need to sit on the sidelines. The UFC is finally recognizing him as the undisputed heavyweight champion, and he's no longer defending the interim belt. And the fans, I think, for the most part, see it as almost an inevitable outcome that Tom puts together a few wins and cements himself as the all-time heavyweight GOAT. But on the other hand, I was looking at Tom's resume and I was looking at the general landscape of heavyweight. And I'm kind of worried for the guy because I'm not sure it's really possible for him to become the heavyweight GOAT. And the reason for that is he's never beaten another all-time great heavyweight. Because if you were to look at the other great heavyweights, if you're going to look at the top 5, top 10 heavyweights of all time, every single one of them has beaten another all-time great heavyweight, another divisional great opponent is on their record, is on their win column. And Tom hasn't done that, and he's probably not going to get the chance to do that because just go through the names. Like Francis Ngannou beat Stipe Miocic. That's an all-time great win. Stipe beat Cormier. He beat Verdum. He beat Overeem. Cormier beat Stipe. He beat Josh Barnett. Verdum beat Cain Velasquez. He beat Fedor. Cain beat Junior Dos Santos. He beat Brock Lesnar. He beat Verdum. Or not Verdum. He beat Nogueira. Junior Dos Santos beat Cain. He beat Stipe as well. He beat Frank Mir. Brock Lesnar even beat Frank Mir and Randy Couture. And of course, Fedor beat Crow Cop. He beat Nogueira twice. Like, these are all examples of all-time great heavyweights who beat other all-time great heavyweights. And the nearest Tom Aspinall has to that is Andrei Arlovsky, but he was ancient at that point, so I'm not counting that at all. And other than that, he's just beaten other, good names, but they're just contenders. He beat Volkov, he beat Blades, he beat Pavlovich, but he doesn't have that, next-level name on his resume. And it's not his fault. It comes down to 3 reasons. The first of which being that John Jones retired, the second of which being that Francis went to PFL, and the third of which being that Stipe retired after he lost to Francis. Because with that all happening, it sort of takes the other great heavyweights that he could fight, and it takes all of that lineal history of, the guy who beat the champ, who beat the champ, who beat the champ. It takes all of that away and just sends it off into the ether, and Tom can't have any access to it. Because imagine a different scenario where Stipe gets knocked out by Francis and loses his belt. And instead of retiring for several years and then only coming back to fight Jones, let's imagine Stipe stuck around. And let's imagine Stipe had a bounce back fight against Cyril Gane and he beat him. And let's imagine it was Stipe fighting Tom for the interim belt. And let's imagine Tom beat Stipe. Now all of a sudden he's got that Stipe win and that's looking really good. And that's at least one other all-time great heavyweight that he beat. Let's imagine that Francis Ngannou stuck around. And Tom dethroned him. Now all of a sudden, boom, he's got that great win. Now Tom, can kind of be talked about as another all-time great heavyweight. Even John Jones. If Jones is the weakest name of the 3 as far as his heavyweight resume, but still, if Tom could have gotten a shot at Jones and taken him out, that would have done wonders for him. And he didn't even get that because Tom ducked him and retired. But and now Tom is just left with nothing. Now he's just, he's going to fight Cyril Gane. He's going to fight Volkov again. He's going to fight Blades again. Maybe he'll fight Pavlovich again eventually. He'll fight Almeida. So, there's just nothing for him. And, it's conceivable that he can just string together enough wins that it'll just kind of become undeniable. If 5 years from now, Tom is still the champion and 2 to 3 times in all of the, in all the previous 5 years, he was just knocking a dude out in one round. Then yeah, if he has that level of wins, if Tom breaks the UFC win streak record at heavyweight and does it all with finishes or something, if Tom does that, then yeah, he'll be the GOAT. And yeah, the fact that all the names on it suck won't be enough to stop him from being the GOAT, because that'll be a Fedor-esque run, but in the modern era. And even though guys like Volkov aren't all-time greats, they're still good wins. So if he can do that, if he can just win through sheer quantity over quality, there's a chance. But, this is heavyweight, I'm not saying that's impossible, but that's a pretty tall order. Because it can't just be a few more. It can't just be, you know, Almeida and Blades or, Lewis or, it can't just be like a couple more. It can't just be two defenses or something. And then we're calling him the heavyweight GOAT, because it'll just be one of those cases where it's like, who has he beaten? Because we're going to look at this years from now. We're going to look back on his resume, and we're going to give it a harsher treatment than people are giving Anderson Silva's resume. Because look at that, right? Like, people look back at Anderson Silva and they say, okay, he beat Dan Henderson, that's good. He beat Vitor Belfort, that's good. He beat Chael, that's okay. But everything else sucks. Patrick Cote sucks. Chris Lieben sucks. Rich Franklin sucks. That's how people are looking at Anderson now. And that's not even a fair assessment. Like, people are underrating Anderson's resume, and you can just go watch my top 20 GOAT list and hear me rant about how good Anderson actually is and how good his resume actually is, and how he had massive success in 3 different divisions from welterweight to light heavyweight, and people just don't understand that. But in any case, that same thing is going to happen to Tom Aspinall. Like, 10 years from now, people are going to be like, Jailton Almeida, Derek Lewis, Cyril Gahn, Pavlovich, like, these are the guys he beat, and people think he was the heavyweight GOAT. Like, this resume sucks. And again, it's not Tom's fault. It's just what happens when you get like 3 other champions, with varying degrees of appeal, but like 3 other champions who just fucking leave and don't fight you. Like, it's not his fault, but they've taken the legacy with them. And it makes me sad, because there's like nothing you can do about it. And I don't see a very hopeful way out. I think the amount of wins he'll need to accrue to like cement himself as the undisputed, undebatable GOAT, or even on the level of Stipe or something, because Fedor is the heavyweight GOAT, let's be real. Watch my GOAT video again to hear me rant about that. But for him to even compete with Stipe for second place, like, he's going to need to put together so many fucking wins. And I just don't know that that's a realistic hope.